Raising Gazorpazorp. I think, remember a few episodes back how I said when a Rick and Morty episode is good, right? That's to be expected. Rick and Morty episodes are always great. It's when an episode is bad that things get interesting. This is one of those episodes I don't consider it bad, but I don't consider it good either. It kind of falls somewhere in the middle for me. Right? So with that, let's just get right into it, and hopefully I can explain this. So it starts off, they're at a pawn shop, right? Rick's trying to buy some, I don't know, ionic destabilizer or something like that. And Morty buys a sex doll. Okay, you can already see where this is going. He just has a marathon with the sex doll. Okay, it's not really that funny. I mean, it's very awkward and yeah. So the sex doll ends up transforming to a ball and trying to fly away. Rick comes in. The comedy is still here. The episode is still funny, just not as funny as other episodes, right? And we got Rick spouting his catchphrase everywhere, because of course. But the sex doll eventually pops out a baby, and they learn that it's meant for breeding, it's meant for genetic encoding, and now we have our little Morty Jr. Okay. Right. So Rick takes the sex doll and finds out that it's from the planet Gazorpazorp. So Summer ends up going, Summer's there, and he opens a portal to Gazorpazorp, and Summer gets pulled through, right? So Rick goes in, kills a bunch of Gazorpians, ends up saving Summer, and he's like, God damn it, Summer, because you have boobs, I now have to conquer an entire planet. Okay. It's a simple setup, right? And we see him, right? He takes control of all the Gazorpians. He's trying, because they break his portal gun, so he's trying to use the parts of the sex dolls to create a new portal gun while doing it one-handed because he has to kill off the Gazorpazorps. At this point, it's okay. You got a few jokes, right? She ends up having to wear a burqa because the Gazorpians are sex-craved, I guess you'd say. And then this giant head comes, drop the sex dolls, you can figure out what happens. Which, okay, that head, I know that's a reference to something. I am actually really disappointed that I don't know what it is. But I know it's a reference, right? Every episode of Rick and Morty seems to reference a movie in some capacity. Well, almost every. Right? So they end up hitching a ride on the sex dolls, finds out that, some higher form of life is using them as breeding slaves, right? And then they end up running into the female Gazorpians, who basically assume Rick's a slave, and that Summer is ruling her planet, which, okay, they're doing a battle of the sexism thing. I don't really care for this, but this is Rick and Morty, so hopefully they could do it well. So we cut to Morty, and we see him with his kid, right? Morty Jr. And the parents are like, oh yeah, you're going to ruin this kid, right? Because they had Summer when they were probably a little older than Morty, and they kind of ruined her, so so Morty's gonna ruin that, right? They can both agree on that, which Morty's plotline is definitely the better of the two. But we see him raising his kid, right? As his kid grows up and he's like, oh, say your first word, Dad. And he's like, death, destruction. And it's like, yeah, Jerry's like, good job. So, which we do learn that male Gazorpians are very war crazed, so we see why he's like this. It's okay, right? But then we cut back to Rick and Summer, and they're in this female utopia, right? It's a woman-run society. They're all there for each other. This could in theory be done well, but I just don't like how the show does it. it plays a lot on stereotypes, right? Which, I'm not saying the show is above it, but I'm saying the show is above it. They could do this really well, and they could make this really interesting. But no, it's just, it's a female-run society. Rick's a slave to Summer. They're all, I'm here if you need to talk. It's all just stereotypes, and Rick's playing the straw man, right? They eventually do, we see how the babies are born, right? And how females are put into education, and males are sent out to play. It's one of the funnier jokes in this side of the story. Which, yeah, we learn that one day, male Gazorpian becomes like a full adult, which, that's why Morty Jr. is aging so fast. But Rick gets, right, he's like, I'm fed up with the society, we just need to go home, screw this, and he lets out a fart, and they get captured, right? Then we cut back to Morty and Morty Jr., who Morty Jr. is drawing pictures of killing and death and destruction. A picture of him and Morty killing people. Because Morty Jr. wants to go outside, right? He wants to kill the animals and the mailman. But Morty, of course, being the amazing parent he is, tells him, if you go outside, the air is poison. It will kill you. And the parents are like, great job. Because Morty just wants Morty Jr. to stay in and dance. He is messing up the kid bad, which, of course, he's at a disadvantage, right? Because they do kind of bring up the point that being a parent is hard. But Morty is fighting an uphill battle here. He really is. It's not going to work well. Right? But we end up cutting back to Summer and Rick, who are basically facing, like, punishment. And they get sentenced to be killed by a giant rock, right? Just to have it crush on them. Rick continues to be a dick. No surprise there. But Summer brings up, you guys liked my top. Well, it's made by a guy. And then they're like, well, in our society, men and women are kind of equal. But we also have men who like other men, and they kind of create a balance, or that's where I think she's going with it. It's an okay argument for their scenario, but again, this whole scenario, I feel like it's inherently not working in their favor. Something just is not right in how they're setting this up. Then again, I don't know if there's a better way to do this, because I feel like they do have to for what they're trying to do here is to rely on stereotypes and stuff like that just to get this across. I don't know, I can't think of anything better. But eventually we cut back to we cut back to Morty and Morty Jr. I'm so used to just saying Rick and Morty, but right, Morty Jr. is taking up smoking, and eventually him and Morty get in a fight. Morty pushes him and he's like, I'd rather die than be with you. So he goes outside, finds out the air isn't poison. And the best line in the episode is right here where it's like, my life is a lie. God is dead. The government is lame. Thanksgiving is about killing Indians. Jesus wasn't born on Christmas. Best line in the episode. So funny. All right. It's just within the context right there. It works. Oh my gosh. I kind of forgot about the line because I didn't remember this episode being, I remembered it being funny, but not like that, as funny as that one line was within context. But eventually he goes to ask the dad for help, and the dad's like, a big glass of I told you so, because the dad's just a dick. Jerry's a freaking idiot. But we get a whole dancing thing with Morty Jr. before he goes on a rampage, just beating shit up. Just because he's going to take over the planet, right? Because that's what he wants to do. Eventually, Jerry and Morty catch up to him. Morty kind of is like, oh yeah, kid. Well, the thing is, I'm not a good parent, right? Because all having kids, parents are just kids having kids. Because Rick and Summer show up, try to kill Morty Jr. It doesn't work. And then the guy who created Marmaduke shows up, for no reason. It's just like, hey, I constantly think about killing people all the time. Why not become a creative, right? Which, it kind of made me think of the whole tortured artist thing. So, I guess I see where they're coming from. It's interesting, I guess. But yeah, Morty Jr. sets out to write a novel, and yeah. And then we see Summer and Rick, and they're like, well, I guess our adventure was pointless. Here, have a pink spaceship. Which, yeah, their entire segment at the end of the day is pointless. If you removed it, you really wouldn't be taking anything away from the episode. I mean, like, I'm not gonna... it is part of the reason why I don't like the episode, but... I am disappointed. I feel like this show can do so much more than this. But no, it's pointless, right? And then we see Morty Jr. does write his novel called My Horrible Father, which, yeah, that's funny, and that's where the episode ends. It's an okay episode, right? It is not bad, but with the standard Rick and Morty has set up in the previous episodes, especially Rick Potion number 9, it just doesn't live up to it. And most other shows, I wouldn't complain about a just okay episode, but this is Rick and Morty. Just okay doesn't cut it. Yeah. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. It's underwhelming and it could be better. But yeah, from here on out though, I can only think of one other episode that falls into this category. So yeah, but I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time,